Let's talk about Longlegs, which just has had one of the best marketings for a movie in a long time. This is not our most anticipated film of the summer. It's our most anticipated film of the year. Maika Monroe, Nicolas Cage, alongside with Osgood Perkins and Neon doing their thing. This is one of those movies that I think is just going to be insane. The reviews, the reactions that have been coming out have been amazing as well. Neon, hit me up. Y'all need to hit me up about this one because I want to check it out already. But let's talk about the Birthday Murders website, which has just popped up. So we're going to go through this website. We're going to talk about these murders that it details and all of this. And before we get into it, I want to let you know to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We're on the road to 35,000 subscribers. That's our goal for the month. We're 5,000 away. Can we get there? I don't know, maybe. But let's talk about this right here. Hit the notification bell, hit that subscribe button. We got a ton of things to talk about. Seattle Times had a one-page ad for Longlegs where they had these like coded page with the sigils that are used throughout the trailer and the marketing from Longlegs, which is the killer played by Nicolas Cage. And when you decipher that, it gives you a whole message, but it also takes you to this website, as you can see, the Birthday Murders. And the Birthday Murders basically is a website where you can find all about the killer Longlegs and what they have done. So I thought it was interesting that they were able to do this right here because it adds another layer to the whole film. So as you can see here, it says, for nearly 3 decades, the Satan-worshipping psycho has terrorized families throughout the Pacific Northwest. A bloody trail of bodies here in the great state of Oregon attests to the depraved savagery of this one-of-a-kind serial killer. With over 3 dozen victims that we know of, Longlegs is one of the most prolific mass murderers ever to have graced the region, and his gruesome endeavors are the stuff of nightmares. First, all of the killings appear to be straightforward murders, the handiwork of average men who suddenly snapped and slaughtered their wives and children. But a series of eerie coded messages left at the crime scene indicated that someone or something is influencing these horrific crimes. The cryptic letters are signed by someone calling himself Longlegs. So it says tune back on Monday, June 24th, which we will tune in next Monday and talk about that as well. Pretty sure it's another trailer coming. But let's get into the gruesome details here. So maybe some of these images will be blurred because of the YouTube guidelines and all of that, but let's get into this whole thing. So it says the victims, and then it comes to the Applewhite family before giving us, though, a message. It says, with 38 kills to his name, Longlegs has torn apart the lives of 11 different families throughout the Beaver State. His victims were good, honest fathers, decent mothers, innocent little children. They were church-going, God-fearing, upstanding members of their community. These families did not deserve their awful fate, and it behooves us to take a moment of silence to honor their memory. So it says the Applewhite family. I believe this is the birthday murder. That's something that this has been detailed as. Gruesome scene right here. Very eerie how they've made this as well, this website. It says, along with their 9-year-old daughter, Teresa, Harlan and Patricia Applewhite of Damascus, Oregon, appear to be a prototypical American family. Harlan, a certified public accountant with the firm of Chesney and Seifert, and Patricia, a homemaker, first met while attending Easter services at St. Boniface's Roman Catholic Church. So yeah, I believe the church is going to be a lot to do with this. The film's trailer and everything has a lot of religious aspects to it as well, and we'll talk about that in another video. But we've already kind of discussed how Maika, also her character of Lee, comes from a religious upbringing, which I think is important to note. They married in 1955, and shortly thereafter, Patricia gave birth to their one and only child. Little Teresa was said to have a smile that could light up a room. A student at Primrose Lane Elementary, Teresa was fascinated by butterflies and caterpillars. She hoped to be an entomologist when she grew up. Unfortunately, she would never have the chance. On the night of July 14th, 1966, the Applewhites were killed in their home of 3400 block of Rhododendron Street. Initially, there didn't appear to be any mystery as to the circumstances. Clackamas County Sheriff Roy Wicker ruled the killing a murder committed by Harlan, yet no one, friends, family, co-workers, could imagine Harlan would do such a thing. They characterized him as a loving husband and father, a model of stability and sanity. Harlan's sister, Mrs. Eveline Dale, stated, I never believed he did it, not for a minute, not for a second. What made the crimes even more inconceivable was their grisly nature. Patricia and Teresa were killed with an 8-inch carving knife, according to medical examiner Dr. Hugo Portis. The perpetrator completely severed Patricia's jugular, then proceeded to stab her more than 20 times in the chest and abdomen. The little girl was tortured before she was killed. Her internal organs were removed post-mortem. Sheriff Wicker is on record saying, "This was the goriest crime scene I've ever witnessed," adding, "Whoever did this was ruthless." Law enforcement authorities determined that Harlan had acted alone, slaying his wife and daughter before fatally turning the family's 12-gauge shotgun on himself. The thing that didn't add up was the letter, Wicker recalled. Police found a letter inscribed with sigils affixed to the refrigerator. The note was written in a cipher of strange, exotic symbols. "We didn't have any luck cracking it, that's for sure." Wicker remembered. The handwriting didn't match Harlan's, or anyone else's for that matter. The only part of the message that wasn't written in code was a neatly handwritten signature at the bottom, "Longlegs." Frustrated in their attempts to decipher the letter, law enforcement officers assumed it wasn't important. Years later, when the case was reopened by the FBI, the coded message would turn out to be a key piece of evidence. And so I'm going to make another video probably Friday where we decipher the code and read as much as we can that has been shown throughout the trailers and stuff, because I think that's very important when it comes to this. But yeah, this was definitely Longlegs' first murder, it seems, and one of the ones that really started this spark into trying to find out who this person was. The next family is called the Clover Family. It says Marshall Clover and his wife Carol lived in Echo, Oregon with their 10-year-old daughter Miranda. According to all who knew them, they were a happy family. On June 20th, 1968, their happiness would come to an end. Their white single house on Waxcap Way had always been in immaculate condition. Neighbors called Carol a first-class homemaker. It seems that all these families have a young child, specifically a female daughter, and that might be a thing here with Longlegs as well. And I believe that what we see in the trailers, Longlegs makes these puppets or marionettes, whatever they are, and they're always like girls. So I think that's something that's going to be interesting to see what this whole connection is and why exactly Longlegs is doing all of this. They say the house was so drenched in blood they had to tear it down, said next door neighbor Merlin Block. Couldn't get the stains out of the walls or the floors. Umatilla County Sheriff John Squires ruled the killing a murder perpetrated by Marshall, a successful travel agent. There was something about it that didn't sit right, stated Squires years later. John Squires is also the name of somebody who works at Bloody Disgusting, which I think is interesting that they added a lot of people who work in like horror and stuff like that here in the biz. There's also another name in here, which I'll talk about in a bit. I knew Marshall personally, and I just couldn't reconcile him doing such a thing. Not as brutal as all that, certainly. The murders were committed with the same savagery as the Applewhite killings, though this time there was an additional element, satanic imagery indicative of a devil worshipper. The signs were all there, Squires commented. The pentagram written in blood, the number of the beast. It was some pretty demonic business. Yet, Father Melvin Childress of St. Casimir's Church affirmed that Marshall had always been a good Catholic, and added that he had served as a sexton for several years. Everything about the case baffled authorities. As with the Applewhite case, a letter was left on a refrigerator, written in coded characters, but at the bottom the message was signed in ink. Longlegs. We didn't know about the Applewhite's case, Sheriff Squires recalled. No one puts them together until years later when the feds got involved. And that makes us move into the Pendergast family. Thomas Pendergast had been acting strangely for a few days before it happened, according to his employee Arlene Stanhouse. He was nervous and kept mumbling something about his young daughter not really being his daughter. And this is actually going with the first teaser we ever got for Longlegs, where we just heard somebody on the phone talking about that that's not his daughter and things like that. And I remember when that first trailer teaser dropped, everybody was mainly thinking he might have been cuckoo, because at this point we hadn't heard about Longlegs. But then we eventually did find out. So I'm going to go back to that teaser and the video that's going to come out on Friday and discuss more of that. Pendergast, a grocer, and his wife Loretta were the parents of two young girls, Rhonda and Louise. They lived in a white 2-story house on Beaverton Road in the town of Sisters, Oregon. According to all who knew them, they were a quiet, happy family. Thus, it came as a shock when Thomas decapitated his wife and daughters with a cleaver on the evening of August 9th, 1969. Deschutes County Sheriff Scott Wampler called the crime scene a horror show, one of the bloodiest I've ever seen. And Scott Wampler, of course, may he rest in peace, also part of the King cast and part of Fangoria team and all of that. Somebody else who works with horror and stuff like that. And definitely somebody that will be missed, just passed away earlier this month. The bodies were lined up next to each other on the floor in the dining room. The cause of death in each case was determined to be exsanguination or severe loss of blood. After killing his family, Thomas walked into the garage where he shot himself in the head with a Remington Model 1100 12-gauge shotgun. It seemed pretty cut and dried, Wampler said of the case. The only thing that stood out was that damn note. A letter in a pink envelope was found in the refrigerator. It was written in coded alphabet. The message was signed Longlegs. If we had known about the other letters, maybe we could have put something together. Maybe we could have stopped them, Wampler said regretfully. Instead, his office ruled the killings a murder-suicide carried out by Thomas Pendergast. As with the Clover murders, pentagrams were found on the walls of the house. Yeah, that was some weird diabolical mess, said Wampler, recalling the harrowing scene. The extreme carnage and, well, all that devil stuff was pretty disturbed. So there's this recurring theme now. I'm kind of curious as why with the first murder that Longlegs didn't use the pentagrams and stuff like that. Maybe it's something that will be explained later on. The next family is the Wormwood family, and it says, on the night of April 18th, 1970, Lester Wormwood called authorities to report finding his brother Curtis and his family murdered in their home of Marigold Drive in the town of Gaylord, Oregon. Curtis, a technician with the Multnomah County Waste Management Division, and Eugenie, a nurse practitioner at Grosvenor Hospital, had been married for 15 years. They met while undergraduates at Oregon State University in Corvallis. College sweethearts and best friends, they married shortly after graduation. They would go on to have 3 daughters, Julia, Patricia, and Cynthia. The Wormwoods were remembered as the wholesome family next door. Curtis, a native of Umpqua River Valley, loved to hike the Calapooya Mountains. Eugenie was known to volunteer at the local Humane Society. No one saw it coming when Curtis butchered his wife and daughters with a carving knife. After murdering his family, Curtis killed himself with a single shot to the head. Lester Wormwood, who found the bodies, took his own life 6 months later. We knew we were dealing with something none of us had before, recalled Coos County Police Sergeant Garth Franklin. All of the victims had been stabbed to death, with their throats filleted open all the way across, according to Franklin. The killings contained a particularly brutal level of cruelty. Detectives found themselves puzzled over who would have wanted to cause any harms to any of the victims. The walls of the house were covered in pentagrams painted with blood. The number 666 was drawn on the floor. The satanic connection was unmistakable. A coded letter was discovered attached to the refrigerator door with a plastic magnet shaped like a tiger. The letter was signed Longlegs. The cryptogram made me think of the Zodiac thing, Franklin stated, referring to the Zodiac killer who operated in Northern California in the late 1960s. But this wasn't like that at all. At the time, we believe whoever killed them was let into the house. Either that or it was someone who lived there. It didn't take long for law enforcement to determine that Curtis Wormwood was responsible for the murder of his family before he took his own life. We had no reason to think it was done by anyone other than Curtis. No other suspects, no accomplices. Jack Fimple, an animal control officer working in the area, recalled seeing a white station wagon, possibly a Chevrolet Nomad, in the vicinity. It's a pretty quiet neighborhood, he declared. Anyone who doesn't belong there tends to stand out. They have a picture of the station wagon here, which is very eerily and similar to the one that we see Maika Monroe's character Lee Harker driving in the trailer and teaser, and also we see Nicolas Cage, who I was thinking was Lee Harker's mom when I first watched the trailer, and I said that in the videos before, and then other people started pointing out, no, that's Nicolas Cage if you look carefully. I went back, watched the trailer, and I was just like, I made a mistake. That was actually Nicolas Cage, which is interesting to see how he has really changed his appearance and demeanor for this movie. So we then get the final murders here. It says the Hessie Murders. On the morning of March 12, 1971, police responded to the White Dutch colonial house of Eldridge Hessie and family in Oysterville, Oregon, after Eldridge failed to show up for work the previous day. When officers arrived, they described smelling a distinct foul odor emanating from the house. Inside, they found the bodies of Eldridge's wife, Roberta, and 9-year-old daughter, Mary Kathleen, each stabbed over 30 times with a long, serrated bread knife taken from their family's kitchen. Eldridge, an air traffic controller, had been a reliable employee. He hadn't reported for his shift on March 11th, nor did he call to inform his supervisor that he would be unable to come in. Calls to his house went unanswered all day. What the police found shocked them. Roberta, a hairstylist at the Razzle Dazzle salon in Sunny Ridge, had been beaten so badly her face was unrecognizable. Mary Kathleen's hands and feet had been removed. The bodies were discovered in the family's basement. Eldridge was found in the master bedroom, the victim of a self-inflicted knife wound. Forensic examination showed that he had killed himself within an hour of his wife and child. The family's pet parakeet was found decapitated in its cage. In the following weeks, the neighbors on Siuslaw Road became fearful. Many decided to arm themselves. Some suffered adverse psychological effects. Reports circulated of a tall man with long hair loitering in the neighborhood. Rumors held that a satanic cult had been involved. Police soon ruled that out, as well as several other bizarre theories. In the absence of any solid leads, the crime was ruled an apparent murder. Eldridge Hessie was presumed to have killed his family and himself in a fit of sudden and unexplained rage. No clear motive could be established. We don't know why he did it, said next-door neighbor Earl Pomerantz. It just didn't make sense. Eldridge and his family were good Christian people, claimed Father Benedict McComber of Our Lady of Sorrows Catholic Church. Hundreds of mourners attend their burial service, he added, and none of them could understand why Eldridge would commit such a heinous act. McCombs told the Oysterville Gazette, "It may have been a devil thing. That's the only way I can make any sense of it." The front door of the house had been adorned with a large inverted triangle carved directly into the wood. The mark of the B666 was etched into the back of the door. On the refrigerator, a coded message was found in a pink envelope by local police. The letter was signed Longlegs. So then we see a newspaper clipping here saying satanic cult on the Oregon coast. It says the tragic events occurred at the family's residence at 5050 Main Street on the evening of September. Then it cuts because we don't see the whole thing. Then it says the death of Jane Doe and her children is a tragedy and our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and families. And then it cuts again. And the next one says the investigation is ongoing, but the police department has stated that they believe the suspect, John Doe, had a history of violence. And that's pretty much all we get here. We get a lot of these pictures. We do get something to contact something. I don't know if anybody's contacted it yet or not, but I think it's a very interesting whole website here, and just really adds to the whole marketing they've done here. They already have a number that you can call as well for Longlegs, which we're going to do right now because we're about that. So let's see what happens when we call that number and who is going to pick up, right? Because, well, let's see. So we got the number here, and apparently this is on some billboards and stuff like that have been appearing. So let's see what happens once we call that number. So we're calling that number right now. I guess it's not working right now. Anyways, so yeah, I really do like this dedication to the marketing as it continues. We're excited. We got some theories. We got more things to talk about this because this is definitely our most anticipated film. But let me know what you think about this website, the murders and all that. We will be taking a whole video where we try to decipher the code and see what else we can come up with. Maika Monroe, apparently her character of Lee Harker has a connection to Longlegs, and I want to try and see what that's all about. But we'll talk about that in another video, so stay tuned. But anyways, as always, if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We are on the road to 35,000 subscribers. We are less than 5,000 away from that, so make sure you're subscribed if you're all the things you love. We got a video on Maxine. We saw the 6-minute teaser last night when we went to watch X, and we got some more theories after watching X for Maxine, which will come out next week, so stay tuned for that. But we got the Longlegs video, we got some news, we got the Smile 2 trailer breakdown. I'm telling you, we got a ton of content. Don't miss out. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll see all of you next time. As always, stay safe, stay positive.